The sycamore tree, the Platanus acerfolia, otherwise known as the London plane, is a very popular tree for parking lots and quite often used as a street tree. There is one old cultivar, old meaning about a decade ago they came out with it, called the yarwood. And the yarwood was resistant to the anthracnose problem, but it had a very strange growth characteristic. All of the branches grow very, very wide. So instead of it being more of an upright formation like you find in a standard sycamore tree, this one is really wide growing. And as you can see, what happens is they grow really far out and then branches start breaking off. These branches out on the outsides here, they're on the verge of breaking. Unfortunately, the only way that you can prune these trees is to get enough of the weight off of the ends, but that leaves them either looking stubby or very stripped out. So this is a growth characteristic that causes the trees to ultimately self-destruct in many cases. So I've seen a lot of yarwood trees, yarwood sycamores, that look like this, and quite a few fail. I see a broken limb down here, I see the big one up high that's hanging in the tree, and if you carry on looking way up high, there's another one up over here. So as a parking lot tree, not the best idea. Fortunately, they've come out with a new cultivar called the Columbia, I believe it's called the Columbia, which is also resistant to the anthracnose, but has a better formation. Now this is very likely the same variety, the yarwood, but it has more of an upright formation, so that's not a bad example. Sycamore. Here's a row of the yarwood sycamores. I should call them sycamores first, and the yarwood cultivar. And I am the one that planted all these trees. There's about 50 of them here. And I planted them 17 years ago. Some of them got knocked over and have been replanted. But every single one of these trees has that drooping characteristic. And many of the branches have broken and fallen off of these trees. So they're still fairly young trees, and I fully expect them to, in essence, self-destruct. A lot of these limbs, as they get wider and wider, are all going to start breaking off. And if you look all the way down this row here, you can see that the characteristic of this tree is somewhat, well, I hate to say suicidal, but that might be the case. And if you look right up here, you can see where a branch broke off, and now it's throwing out masses of new growth. This particular branch was hanging way out over the road, and it snapped off, and it was cut clean, of course. There's another one up there. You can see the break. See, right about in through here, there's a break on that branch. So one by one, these trees are starting to self-destruct. It's a shame. At the time, I had no idea that this was a bad cultivar. And yet another branch that's broken and ripped all the way down. These limbs over here had to be cut off because they were also breaking. You see, this is a variety of tree that should not require much pruning at all, especially in an area like this. And had it been a better cultivar, then these trees would have held up just fine. They would have had a more upright stature. See, yet again, there's another broken limb there. You see, across the street here is a much older sycamore, also a London plane. Almost all planted sycamore trees are London planes. Now I live here in California, and there is a native sycamore tree, the Platanus racemosa, that is an extremely large growing tree. It grows wild, especially alongside creek beds and throughout California. It is also a species of tree that is affected by the Sycamore anthracnose. And the individuals I'm looking at right now are actually, they're looking pretty good. They don't look like they've ever had much work done on them, but you can see that they are a very large growing tree. Now these trees are probably about 100 to 150 years old, and the trunk on this is, oh boy, that's at least 6 feet across. That is a really significant old tree. Beautiful, beautiful tree. Really tall. It's probably 120, 130 feet tall.